My name is Roman Tolstek, and I hate to start us off in this way, but I don't know how else to start it. So basically, what this is a documentary of the startup of a company.
What is this I'm feeling? If you wanna leave, I'm with it. We've come too far to give up.
Okay, here's another episode, exciting episode of Ronaware Vidoc. So, the first thing I want to cover actually is something personal. As you can see, there are no M&Ms next to me. The reason being is that I try to keep a pretty good diet. Yeah, on the weekends I kind of let myself go a little bit, but through the week I try to be pretty consistent. Yesterday, man, I don't know what happened. I was in the store doing normal grocery shopping, and I came across a bag of Tim's Cascade jalapeno chips, which I love. And they're great with sour cream. Just dip them in, and they have that cooling effect. They're spicy, it's just delicious. So I bought those. I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll save them for like the weekend or some other day, whatever it is. Just eat them a little bit at a time. And also, of course, I got my bag of M&Ms, the almond M&Ms. So I get home, and I'm thinking, I'm doing work or whatever, and I'm thinking, I could really go for some of those Tim's Cascade jalapeno chips. So I pulled those out, and I started snacking a little bit. Well, sure enough, I ate half the freaking bag. And it's not those little, little personal bags. It's a big bag. I ate half the bag of the Tim's Cascade jalapeno chip. And if that wasn't bad enough, I ate the entire jar of sour cream with it. I mean, I don't even know how many calories that is. So then I was, once I realized that I'm feeling a little down, I don't know what can make me feel better. The M&Ms. I ate the entire bag of that too. I must have had like 3,000 or 4,000 calories worth of junk food last night. So now I'm trying to keep myself as healthy as I can today. So for breakfast, it was just hard-boiled eggs. For lunch, is a chicken breast and vegetable, a bowl of vegetables, and that's it. And so right now, no M&Ms for today. Just gonna keep it easy, and hopefully let my body recover a little bit. Because my God, as delicious as that was, I feel really guilty after the fact. Anyway, that's not why you're here. That's not why I'm here. Here to talk about Ronaware. So the first thing I want to talk about is the recap, like always. And specifically in this case, it's finding an end goal. Now, this is one thing where you have to be very definite. You have to be very precise at what your end goal is, and it has to be achievable. Because if you leave anything up to interpretation, that's going to throw you way off the path every single time. This has happened to me again and again and again. Right now, as we stand, we don't have an end goal. And we have a pretty good idea. We know what we want to get. We know how we want to get it, but it's not set in stone. And I should say, the end goal we have right now is pretty clear. We want to use the ESP chip for the main processing power. We want to have Bluetooth in it. We want to have the ESP chip provides the Wi-Fi, dimmer switches, this and this and this, right? We know the parts we want, and we know we want to drop a PCB, but it's not on paper. And unless you actually have it written out to where everybody can see it, to see the stages, pop, 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 and when you want to have it done, you're never going to get there. It's just inachievable because there's always, what I think they call it, feature creep, feature crawl, something like that, where you just want to keep adding things to it, keep making it better and better and better, and eventually you end up with this monster that you can't do anything with, and you're way past budget, you're way past timeline, and you're just stuck out there with nothing you can even use. So learn from my mistakes, set an end goal that you can achieve, and an end goal that is incredibly detailed and clear. That right there is worth its own weight in gold. Now, for the second part of this is I want to talk about goal setting. Goal setting in more specific terms, or I guess more general terms, really. Specifically, what how goal setting works, but more generally to where it can apply to anybody, not just Ronaware. And so, like I have some notes with me as always, not as always, but usually. And the first thing that I've learned from my own mistakes is that when you set a goal, like for us, we want to develop a technology, a smart technology. That's a long-term goal, right? That's a year-long goal or more. You gotta find a way to kind of trick yourself into making it into more smaller chunks, right? So like, whether you're looking at service or profit or growth or technology building, break it up into smaller pieces. So for instance, instead of just getting from A to B, which is get from nothing to smart tech that operates, break it up into smaller goals. So like, for instance, identify the pieces that you need, right, for the engineers to work with. Come up with a skeleton for an app. Create like say languages that can maybe like an alpha build where it kind of works. It might have a lot of bugs. It may not have all the features yet, and it kind of work from there. But basically, just have these little goals that lead all the way up to your distant goal. And that way, not only will you feel like you're actually getting something done, you're accomplishing things, but it keeps you guys on the right path. The other part to keeping goals or setting goals is, and I hate this term because I see it so freaking much, but it works, is the SMART goal, the SMART goal. And SMART just stands for specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-specific. And so specific is kind of what I covered just a little bit ago, where you write out exactly what you want to the detail. Measurable is how you can measure success. Basically, like working, let's say you want a working prototype of this. Well, what does working mean? Say like if you're trying to measure someone's vital signs, well, you're probably never going to be 100% right? Even in medicine, they're like, oh, it's 99.9% effective, right? Or whatever it is you're using. So set a goal, set the measure to be somewhere where you can live with. So for instance, if you're building a smart product, say it works 90% of the time, which is pretty freaking good, right? 9 times out of 10, I mean, a lot of, like Windows doesn't work that nice, right? Which, no discredit to Windows, because Windows is amazing, like the thing's a beast. It has so many possible functions. And Windows 10 is a great operating system. It's lightning quick, but I'm not here to sell Windows. The action-oriented is what actions you can take towards achieving that goal. So every step of the way, like, you know, the engineers will work on this, marketing will work on this, app developers will work on this, business leaders will work on this, and to basically set actions for every single person and how they can take those actions. Not how they can take this, but taking those actions will lead to. Realistic is pretty self-explanatory, right? The goal just has to be realistic. It has to be something that is achievable with the team you have. So for instance, we can't build the next Xbox, right? There's just no way. I mean, maybe we can build a shell that has as much power as an Xbox, but it doesn't mean they'll play the games. It doesn't mean that anybody will want to adopt it, and we will have nowhere near the marketing that we need to back it up. And the last part of it is time specific, and that's also very self-explanatory. It's just a timeline, right? Where you want to be at each point. So SMART goals: specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-specific. The last few parts is kind of just more on you. The first one is get your employees involved, or co-owners, or whoever you have to be working with. No man's an island. No man should have to act like it. People are not going to necessarily want to follow somebody, especially if it's somebody new, somebody working in a startup with no budget. You probably don't really know what you're doing, just like I didn't when I started this, and just like I don't now, though I'd never admit to it, except for now. Basically, get your other halves to input on this. Whoever you happen to be working with, have them involved, and as they become involved in it, they'll cling on to this goal more readily than they would otherwise, because it's now their goal too. It's not just a goal set by someone else, it's something they contributed to, and so something that they want to achieve. And the last two things that are really, really important to this whole goal setting is you got to stay organized. Like me, I have this calendar back here, right? And that's just one of my tools. I have a notebook where I take all my notes. I have another notebook where I have the bigger stuff, and I have, obviously emails where I jot down our meeting note recaps. We have Trello, but you just gotta organize yourself and organize everybody else. And as a business leader, it's part of your job is to really keep everybody else organized as well, because you gotta keep everybody on task. So as you're working towards your goal and you're hitting these marks, make sure that you know where you are and where you need to be and how far away you are, so you can measure if you're gonna be past a certain deadline or past a certain budget. You can measure your difference there and figure out how you need to readjust your goal. Last part is to stay consistent. This part is tricky, especially with product development, because there's always new features you can add, there's always new technologies you can adopt. And sometimes it's a good idea, right? What we just went through was we learned that by moving from an Arduino board to an ESP module, we can save a ridiculous amount of space and possibly get the exact same functionality as what we're working on, and that's what we're working on right now, is getting that same functionality off a much smaller, much less expensive chip. In this case, rearranging our goal made sense, but this was like maybe a month-long process where we had discussions about it. We kind of went through a pros and cons situation a little while before that, but in cases outside of this where it's just different features that you want to add, different things, the bells and whistles, stay consistent to your original goal. Once you hit that, you can add the other things afterwards if you have time. But if not, at least you'll have the core working product. The last thing is the business tool highlight. In this case, I wanted to highlight credit unions for business checking, business savings, business finance of any kind. I use BCU. I think it works wonderfully. There aren't any fees. The only stipulation is that you have to keep a very small amount in a savings account with them, in a savings business account. They have a business checking that's free, and I think that amount's like $5 or something laughable. It's really just virtually nothing. It's a Starbucks drink, right? But BCU, it offers you free checking. It has an online portal. Whenever my engineers, whenever they purchase something for themselves, like for the business themselves though, and I need to reimburse them for that, I simply just go into BCU and I type up a check. BCU cuts that check for me, sends it out to their address. So I never have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about stamps or any messy paperwork. It's all right in there, super easy to use. So definitely consider using BCU. And if you don't have BCU, look at other local credit unions around you. Right, BCU I think is only in Washington State. If you're somewhere else, I would bet my life that you probably have a credit union that can offer you similar perks as BCU does, and it's also free. I think that's pretty much all I have to cover for now. We're making really good progress so far. We actually started the third chapter in our technology development. So we have the arc lamp, which is what we've been working on so far. We have the pathway lights, which are set out in somebody's lawn, which we're making pretty good progress on that as well. And what we have is 3 separate engineers working with me in this project. All of them incredibly talented, incredibly good people. And the third engineer, one of them, he's been kind of doing off jobs just because we haven't had anything for him. Right? And it has nothing to do with his capabilities or anything like that. I think he's done a really great job so far. We just didn't have anything. We're finally at a point to where we can start doing a new project, a third project, and he's going to be heading that. And so this new one, I don't know if I want to talk about it yet, but it's probably going to be our biggest and best project to date. So anyway, this is where we are now. Thank you for tuning in as always. I'm Roman Tolstik with Ronaware. Probably shouldn't have done that. Anyway, I'm in a good mood.